The vote that changed everything, the Great Assembly Hall of the Galactic Council, stretched across 3 kilometers of polished obsidian, its ceiling lost in artificial starlight that mimicked the home skies of 1,000 worlds. Representatives from 847 species filled the chamber, their forms as varied as the cosmos itself. Some floated in pressure suits filled with methane, others clung to heated platforms, and a few existed only as energy patterns contained within crystalline matrices. The center podium stood Chancellor Voss of the hegemony, his 4 arms gesturing with practiced authority. The silvery scales covering his reptilian form caught the light as he spoke, his voice carrying through universal translators to every corner of the vast assembly. The matter before us today concerns a primitive world designated as Sol-3 locally. Known as Earth, Voss announced, his tone carrying the weight of absolute certainty. Our long-range scouts have confirmed what our initial probes suggested. This species poses a potential threat to galactic stability. A wave of discussion rippled through the chamber. The Zephyrians rustled their wing membranes in disagreement, while the crystalline Valdari pulsed with curious light patterns. Near the back, the insectoid Chuck delegates clicked their mandibles in what passed for laughter among their kind. Commander Zale of the Outer Rim Patrol floated forward in his mobility chair, his scarred carapace telling stories of countless battles. Chancellor, with respect, our data shows this species has barely achieved primitive spaceflight. They fight among themselves constantly and have yet to establish a single unified government. What threat could they possibly pose? Voss manipulated the central hologram with practiced ease. Earth appeared in stunning detail, its blue oceans and white clouds rotating slowly. Surface analysis reveals a species driven by aggression and expansion. In the past century alone, they have fought to global conflicts that consumed their entire planet. Their population has tripled. Their technology advances at an unprecedented rate. The hologram shifted, showing human cities sprawling across continents, factories belching smoke, rockets piercing their atmosphere. More concerning is their adaptability. Every challenge they face, they overcome through innovation and persistence. Every weapon used against them, they improve upon and turn back on their enemies. Admiral Krex of the 4th Battle Fleet stood, his massive frame casting shadows across nearby delegates. The amphibious commander had spent 3 centuries conquering worlds for the Council, and his opinion carried substantial weight. I have studied their military history extensively. They wage war with a creativity that borders on madness. During their second global conflict, one of their nations was nearly destroyed. Yet they rebuilt their entire industrial capacity underground and emerged stronger than before. The chamber fell silent as Krex continued. They have no natural weapons, no armored hides, no poisonous secretions. By all biological standards, they should be prey animals. Instead, they have conquered their entire planet. They turn every disadvantage into an advantage. This is not a species we want as enemies when they inevitably reach the stars. Senator Quillen of the Trade Federation raised her melodious voice. Perhaps we could offer them membership in the Council, guide their development along more peaceful paths. Impossible, Voss replied immediately. Our xenobiologists have studied their neural patterns through intercepted communications. Humans possess something we've never encountered in any species. They call it stubborn determination, but it goes deeper than that. When faced with extinction, most species surrender or flee. Humans double down and fight harder. The hologram changed again, showing intercepted footage of human wars. Soldiers charging through gunfire, civilians building weapons in basements, entire populations refusing to surrender even when facing annihilation. The assembled delegates watched in fascinated horror. "They have a saying," Voss continued, "never give up, never surrender. This is not metaphor for them, it is fundamental to their nature. They would rather die than submit to external control." The debate that followed lasted for hours. Species after species voiced their concerns, their fears, their calculations. The mathematics were simple. Earth's location put it at the intersection of three major trade routes. If humans ever developed faster than light travel, they would be perfectly positioned to disrupt galactic commerce. When the vote finally came, the result was overwhelming. 847 in favor of invasion, 12 opposed. The council had spoken as the assembly dispersed. Admiral Krex lingered in his command chamber aboard the flagship Dominion, studying tactical reports. His aide, a young hegemony officer named Sergeant Thale, reviewed fleet preparations with nervous energy. "Sir, the 4th, 7th, and 9th battle fleets will be ready for departure in 30 rotations. Intelligence suggests the humans have no significant orbital defenses. Our stealth scouts report that their most advanced weapons are primitive chemical rockets." Krex nodded slowly, but something troubled him. In all his campaigns, he had never invaded a world that fought the way humans did. Every battle he had studied showed the same pattern. When humans were cornered, they became exponentially more dangerous. "They'll increase our intelligence gathering operations. I want to know everything about this species, their weaknesses, their strengths, their psychology. We have 30 rotations to prepare, and I intend to use every moment." Meanwhile, on Earth, Dr. Sarah Chen sat in the underground complex beneath NORAD, staring at readings that shouldn't exist. The massive radio telescope arrays had detected something impossible: coherent signals originating from multiple star systems, all focused on Earth. "Director Hayes, you need to see this," she called out, her voice barely concealing her excitement and fear. Director Michael Hayes hurried over, his weathered face creased with concern. The former Air Force general had seen enough classified material to know when something was genuinely unprecedented. "What am I looking at, Sarah?" "Coordinated transmissions from at least 40 different star systems. The mathematical precision is incredible. This isn't natural radio noise, Mike. This is organized communication, and it's all centered on our solar system." Hayes felt his blood run cold. "How long have we been receiving these signals?" "The pattern started 3 weeks ago, but I think they've been watching us much longer. I've found similar signals buried in our archived data going back 18 months. They're not trying to hide anymore." The implications hit both of them simultaneously. Earth was being observed, studied, and discussed by an intelligence network, spanning multiple star systems. Hayes reached for his secure phone. "Get me the president. Tell him we need to convene the National Security Council immediately, and Sarah. Not a word of this leaves this room until we understand what we're dealing with." As Hayes made his calls and Chen analyzed more data, neither of them noticed the small device hidden within their equipment, a device that had been broadcasting every word they spoke to a receiver 8 light years away, in a hidden facility on the moon's dark side. An ancient structure that had waited in silence for millennia suddenly activated. Automated systems that had been dormant since Earth's last ice age began to hum with power. Inside the facility, a message began transmitting toward Earth on frequencies no human had ever discovered. The message was simple, urgent, and delivered. In perfect English, they are coming. You have 30 days to prepare. Trust no one from the stars except us. Humanity's survival depends on what you do next. The signal reached Earth's most sensitive receivers simultaneously, appearing on screens. In classified facilities around the world, in Moscow, Beijing, Washington, London, and Tel Aviv. Crisis meetings began within hours. Dr. Chen stared at the decoded message, her hands shaking slightly. Mike, this changes everything. We're not just being watched. Someone out there is trying to help us. Hayes looked at the message timestamp. 30 days, Sarah. Whatever's coming, we have 30 days to get ready. Neither of them could have imagined that within those 30 days, humanity would discover reserves of courage, creativity, and sheer bloody-minded determination that would shake the foundations of galactic civilization. The clock had started ticking, and Earth's greatest test was about to begin. When predators meet survivors 29 days after the warning, the first alien ships dropped out of hyperspace at the edge of the solar system. Admiral Krex stood on the bridge of the Dominion, watching his tactical displays with growing confidence. 300 vessels of the combined Council fleets spread out in perfect formation, their weapons charged and shields at maximum power. "Status report," Krex commanded, his voice carrying the authority of a commander who had never lost a battle. "All ships report, ready for engagement, Admiral." Stealth scouts confirm the humans have launched approximately 24 primitive vessels to intercept us. Their largest ship appears to be barely 300 meters in length. Krex almost smiled. Intelligence had been correct. Humans were still using chemical propulsion and crude nuclear weapons. This would be over within hours. What? He couldn't see were the modifications those primitive vessels carried. In the deepest bunkers of Earth, teams of scientists and engineers had worked around the clock, guided by information from their mysterious benefactor. The ships approaching the alien fleet looked like upgraded versions of existing Earth technology, but appearances were deceiving. Captain Maria Santos commanded the lead human vessel, the Defiance. She had been chosen not for her space experience, which was limited, but for her psychological profile. Maria was a survivor of 3 different war zones, someone who had learned to think creatively under pressure. All ships maintain radio silence. Until my signal, she transmitted on the quantum communicator that definitely shouldn't exist on a human vessel. Remember, they expect us to fight like we're from Earth. Let's show them what Earth actually teaches. The alien fleet began its approach with textbook precision. Krex watched approvingly as his ships moved into standard attack formation. Begin long-range bombardment. Target their engines first. I want prisoners for interrogation. The first volley of plasma bolts streaked across space toward the human ships. Every tactical calculation predicted complete destruction within minutes. Instead, something unprecedented happened. The human ships scattered like startled fish, but not randomly. Each vessel moved in patterns that seemed chaotic until viewed from a tactical perspective. They were using their small size and unexpected maneuverability to create overlapping fields of confusion. "Sir, they're not following standard evasion patterns," Sergeant Thale reported, his voice tight with confusion. "Their movements are completely unpredictable." Krex frowned. "No species fights without patterns. Increase scanner resolution. I want to know what they're doing." What they were doing was something no other species had ever attempted. Instead of trying to match alien technology with superior firepower, the humans had studied the enemy's psychology through intercepted communications. They knew the aliens expected logical, predictable responses. Captain Santos watched her tactical display as alien fire passed harmlessly around her ship. Phase 2, all vessels. Let's teach them about human creativity. The human ships suddenly stopped running and turned toward the alien fleet. But instead of attacking the warships, they targeted something the aliens never expected: their support vessels. Fuel tankers, communication relays, medical frigates, non-military targets that no honorable species would ever consider. They're attacking civilian vessels. Thale gasped, horrified. Krex felt his confidence waver for the first time in decades. Redirect defensive formations. Protect the support fleet. But the humans weren't done. As the alien warships moved to defend their support vessels, the human ships launched thousands of small objects. The alien scanners initially dismissed them as debris or primitive missiles. They were wrong. Each object was a modified communication satellite equipped with human-built quantum transmitters. As they spread throughout the alien formation, they began broadcasting on frequencies that overloaded alien sensors. Within minutes, the entire Council fleet was flying blind. Sensor grid compromised. Tactical officers reported across the fleet were getting ghost readings on every scanner. In the chaos, the human ships did something that violated every rule of space combat. Instead of pressing their advantage with weapons, they began transmitting. Attention Council fleet, Captain Santos broadcast on all frequencies. This is Captain Maria Santos of the Earth Defense Force. We know you're here to invade our world. We know you think we're primitive. We know you believe this will be easy. Admiral Krex listened to the transmission with growing unease. The human's voice was calm, almost conversational. What you don't know is that we've been preparing, not for 30 days, but for 30,000 years. Every war we've fought, every struggle we've endured, every time we've faced extinction and survived, we've been preparing for this moment. The tactical situation was deteriorating rapidly. Council ships were firing on each other as their sensors fed them false information. 2 frigates had already collided, trying to avoid phantom targets. You came here expecting to fight a primitive species, Santos continued. Instead, you're about to learn why humanity survived ice ages, asteroid impacts, volcanic winters, and our own worst impulses. We don't just fight to win, we fight to survive. And survivors don't play by anyone else's rules. Krex realized with growing horror that the humans weren't trying to destroy his fleet. They were studying it. Every shot fired, every evasive maneuver, every communication was being analyzed and catalogued. Admiral, his communications officer, reported with barely controlled panic, they're inside our networks. Somehow they've penetrated our quantum encryption. They're downloading our tactical databases. The truth hit Krex like a physical blow. This wasn't a battle. It was a learning exercise. The humans were using his own fleet as a training ground. On Earth, Dr. Sarah Chen watched the engagement from the command center beneath Denver. The data streaming back from the human ships was beyond invaluable. Every alien technology, every weapon system, every defensive protocol was being recorded and analyzed. How are we doing this? Director Hayes asked, watching as human ships danced between alien fire with impossible precision. The gift, Chen replied simply. Our benefactor didn't just warn us, they gave us the tools. Quantum communicators, sensor scramblers, adaptive targeting systems. But most importantly, they gave us something the aliens never expected, which is, they gave us time to be human. In space, the battle was entering its final phase. The Council, fleet composed of species that had fought the same way for millennia, found themselves completely outmatched by an enemy that changed tactics every few minutes. Captain Santos smiled as she watched alien ships retreat from her tiny fleet. All ships disengage and return to base. I think we've made our point. Admiral Krex watched the human ships withdraw with the stunned realization that his massive fleet had just been defeated by 24 primitives, who shouldn't have been able to challenge a single Council frigate. As his ships regrouped and assessed damage, Krex made a decision that would change the course of galactic history. He opened a direct channel to Council Command. "This is Admiral Krex. Cancel all invasion plans immediately. We are not fighting primitives. We are fighting something far more dangerous. Admiral, your report is unclear. Surely a handful of primitive vessels cannot threaten the entire Fourth Fleet." Krex looked at his tactical displays, still showing phantom readings from human sensor scramblers. "Council Command, we have encountered a species that doesn't just fight to win, they fight to evolve. In one engagement, they've learned more about our technology than most species learn in centuries. If we continue this invasion, we won't just lose ships, we'll lose everything." The silence from Council Command stretched for long minutes before the response came. "Admiral, maintain position and await reinforcements. The Council does not retreat from primitives." Krex closed the channel and turned to his aide. "Thale, begin defensive preparations. We're about to discover why humans are the apex predator on their planet." On Earth, celebration was brief. The warning from their mysterious benefactor had proven true, but the real test was yet to come. Humanity had won the first round by being unpredictable, but their enemies would adapt. Captain Santos stood in the debriefing room, addressing a gathering of military leaders from around the world. "We surprised them once. We won't surprise them again. From now on, this becomes a war of adaptation. They'll learn our tricks, so we'll have to invent new ones." Dr. Chen pulled up the data they had gathered from the engagement. "We have complete tactical profiles on 47 different alien ship classes, their weapons systems, their defensive capabilities, and most importantly, their psychological profiles. They fight like they've always won because they have always won. Until today," Director Hayes added grimly. "The question is, what do we do tomorrow?" The answer came from an unexpected source. Deep in the lunar facility, the ancient systems activated once more. Another message began transmitting toward Earth, this time with coordinates and technical specifications that would change everything. Humanity was about to learn that they weren't alone in their defiance of the Council, and their mysterious ally was ready to reveal themselves at last. The galaxy would never be the same.